But back to my original point, Tony, I want to run an idea meritocracy. The best idea wins. I'm not here to protect anyone from feeling sad or sort of mildly rejected because they are too emotionally attached to their ideas or their way of doing things that don't best serve the market. I'm here to lead people to a better way of thinking, to higher skills so that we can maximize our contribution to other people, because that's what the market rewards.
Okay, Mark, I gotta challenge you on this because I don't think it's either or.
Okay.
Right. I want to tell you a story.
Welcome to the Property Management Success Podcast, where we interview leaders in the industry to uncover the secrets to profitability, efficiency, and achieving true freedom, whether it's your time, money, or lifestyle. I'm your host, Tony Cline, and I'm here to help you build a wildly successful property management business. Let's get to it.
Welcome back to another episode of the Property Management Success Podcast. Once again, joined by my co-host, Mark Brower, for the Property Management Aid Station. Mark, how's it going?
What's up?
All right, let's just dive into it. I know you mentioned that you had something going on at your office, and I want to talk about that. I also want to talk about something that you mentioned the last time on the recording, where you had a fairly significant event happen where two of your key employees decided that they were no longer going to be with your team. Do you have an update on that, or should we save that for the end of the podcast as a little bit of a teaser?
Just had to rip that scab off, didn't you?
Yeah.
So, okay, quick update. Two employees leaving. One already left. They did an exit interview. Let's be really raw and vulnerable and open about the feedback I got, because I crave learning, and I think that's maybe one of my better qualities is I want to learn so bad that every failure is a powerful learning opportunity, right? So exit interview with one of the people that's leaving, and a very PC individual, very professional, extremely good communicator, and great guy. Gonna miss him a lot. Hope to see him in the industry. He's going to stay in this industry, and look forward to seeing him in the future. So here was the feedback. This is like a lot of professional, like worded sentences distilled through the Mark filter. Mark, I never felt safe because you call people out. That's what I got from the exit interview. Never felt safe. You call people out in public.
All right, so let me ask you this. Are you not supposed to call people out? How do you make corrections?
Man, we could talk about this for a while, because I so want to learn. I so want to learn about this. Okay, I want to have an idea meritocracy. That's what I want to run. I want to run a business with meaningful work and meaningful relationships. And I want to accelerate our learning as fast as possible, because the faster we learn, the better we get, the more people we can serve, etc. That's what we're here for. We're here for the learning. If I have to, so I'm going to overreact both ways, right? I'm going to overreact. I'm going to say things that are not reasonable, because that's how I tease out like my thinking. I don't want to have to sit people down in private and say, hey, like 15 minutes of lead up to like, you're so wonderful and you're so great and everything about you is excellent, and here's a trophy for everything you've done good in your life so far. However, I'm being extreme, right? So just bear with me for that. However, slip in the, hey, if you could do this a little better, but you're wonderful and it's great and everything, and high five and let me give you a hug. And really? I didn't sign up for that, Tony. Maybe I should have grew up, maybe I should be like an East Coaster, New York, like, the
hammer.
But I also don't want to be an a-hole. So the goal for me is, how do we engage in maximum learning? Because maximum learning just like in running, just like in ultra racing, I was obsessed with like, how can I get fastest? How can we get better fastest? I don't have the patience to sit around and 15 years from now, I'm going to be slightly better at property management. I'm sorry, I'm a founder, entrepreneur. I struggle with impatience. And I want people around me that want to learn so badly that they will park the ego on the side, and they will get raw and open and vulnerable, and they'll bring cases to the table when we're having all group meetings saying, hey guys, guess what? I screwed up on this, and I felt terrible about it. But I already paid the tuition. We paid the tuition for my mistake. All of us did. So I'm bringing this to the table as a case because I want to maximize the learning. I don't want to just learn. I want it to be times 10. Can we do this? I mean, that person, I'm going to just be loving that person. That's what I want.
If I had to take a guess, now obviously I wasn't there and I don't know the individual that you're talking about, but if I had to take a guess, they are positioning your messaging as calling people out. And I think what we need to do is create a system that holds people accountable. And then you are the one that communicates whether or not we're meeting the expectations according to the system. Because if you were to look at a professional football team, there are things that the wide receiver knows that's their responsibilities. So you wouldn't blindside somebody and say, well, you didn't block on 72 of the plays or whatever. You would not hold them, you wouldn't blindside them with saying these were your responsibilities and you didn't follow through with those. On a professional team, they know these are my responsibilities and I rely on the other people in the team to deliver on their responsibilities. And then we get really clear on if these are my responsibilities, these are the performance metrics to which I'm measured against. And when we talk about the KPI, those key performance metrics, I think it really comes down to three things that determine whether or not we are successful as a company with these KPIs. The first one is we need to provide the right system. So if we miss a KPI, is it a system problem, which I as the business owner own the system. It's my responsibility to provide the right system to allow the people on the field to do what I've expected them to do. Then if I've provided the right system, then is it a training problem? Have I provided the right training? And if I have, and the team member agrees, yes, I have the tools, I have the system to do the work that's expected of me, I've been properly trained, then the third category is performance. So it's either a system problem, training problem, or performance problem. And when you approach it from that standpoint, I, as the business owner, own two of the three levers that can be pulled to control the outcome. So I'm going to take responsibility, and then I'm going to say, okay, out of those three categories, did I give you the right system? How can we make the system better? How can we have the right training? And then if we've done that, now I can then and only then hold that person accountable to perform. And I think if you approach it that way, now we can create that system where we're not calling people out. We're holding our team accountable to deliver the results across the entire team. And I think there are nuances in messaging with that, but it sounds like, and I could have just went off on a 4-minute rant without it even being relevant to the exact situation, but it sounds like maybe to me they weren't clear on what is their responsibility, what are their KPIs, the main thing that they're being managed on, and there's a little bit of fear that Mark, as the visionary, is going to come up with some weird idea that is all of a sudden included on their accountability chart where they didn't get the right system and training. Okay, so how far off am I in what I just said?
I think you're spot on. I mean, that sounds like a great framework. That's what businesses should do. And as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about employees unfairly being surprised by failures in areas that wasn't even on their radar. You know, and being called out for that, wow, that's like torture.
Mark, when's the last time you had a job where you worked for somebody else?
I was in college. I was 22 years old, and I got fired.
You know what's common? I think a lot of entrepreneurs wind up getting fired. That definitely landed on my
I
my
got
resume
fired.
as well.
Almost every job I had, fired.
Yeah. Well, go back. The last resume that I put together was in 1992. I haven't even touched a resume since then. But I remember when I was working for other companies, I wanted to know if I was doing a good job or not. Like I wanted to go to work. Obviously, I wanted the paycheck. In 92, I was much younger than I am today. I needed that paycheck. I needed that money to come in. So I was working for the money, no doubt. But while I was at work, I wanted to know, am I doing a good job? Am I meeting expectations? And there was none of that. I had a couple of jobs selling jewelry and at the mall, and imagine a long-haired, 22-year-old kid selling you jewelry. But my only KPI really wasn't even a KPI. We had a sales quota that they kind of expected us to hit, but if we didn't hit it, it just affected our commission. There was no consequence. There was no conversations around how do we improve. There was no training. And so I think a lot of employees go to work every day and they go home every day, and they do that week after week, month after month, and they don't know, am I about to be fired? Am I doing a good job? If I ask for a raise, am I entitled to it? Am I going to get laughed at? Because we have not provided a good framework for them to know, are they doing a good job or not, and how can they improve their performance to improve their contribution so that they can improve their impact on the bottom line, so that they can then justify asking for more money because they're a bigger and better part of the team.
Yeah, I think we're weak. I think we're weak in giving all of what you described to help empower employees to feel successful. But I also think there's another category that your framework doesn't fully address.
Okay.
And that's the category of culture, values and culture. And I think at the core of the most important learning, the scenarios I bring up most often in group settings, and by the way, for the record, I never call out the person's name. If I'm in an all-company meeting, usually what we're doing is we're doing training on our owner handbook. We're going through policies, and then we're exploring the why behind the policies, the brand principles, the core values. Because what we want to do more than anything is train the way we think. And so when I'm bringing up scenarios, it's not because somebody didn't have a task management system and get proper training and be oriented to the fact that they are, doing these tasks in this manner so we can all feel like we're winning. It's because a fundamental decision that was not dictated by a black and white task was made that uncovered underlying principled thinking that is not aligned with our principles. It's the abstract things like owning the outcome, ever increasing honesty, spirit of service. It's those things. It's thrilling people. There's one rule. If the owner calls us first, we lose. Okay, so it's hard to pinpoint and create training necessarily around. Well, you didn't do task 1, 2, 3, X, Y, Z in this order, and that's why the owner ended up calling you first. No, the owner ended up calling us first because we sent out an email message that showed a lack of awareness about the scope of the problem that we're dealing with, how that intersected with the emotional idiosyncrasies of this owner, and our lack of complete commitment and ownership of the issue and competence to driving it to a conclusion. That's why the owner called us.
I definitely agree that the framework we talked about was the accountability piece, the performance piece. there's definitely, when we talk about building a championship team, one of the 7 core components is keeping score, the scoreboard, the KPIs, the OKRs. Are we moving in the right direction? But the very first component contains our core values, our mission, our vision, our target client profile, our income and revenue streams, like all of that stuff that helps you build that culture that you're talking about. And we've had conversations either on camera or off camera where we talk about the importance of those core values and not just creating those. I feel like at some point I woke up, a few years ago, I used to think that core values were something that you either went to some workshop and you wrote them down and it was in a notebook, you came home, you threw it in a drawer, or you sat around a boardroom, or you looked at other people's on their websites to see, like, what should our core values be? Let me see what everybody else's are, and you copy somebody that you respected. Those aren't your core values, they're their core values. But creating those and then having those as a filter that your entire company makes their decisions through. And if something is out of alignment from a policy, a process, a thought process, a phrase that we use, if it's out of alignment with those core values, then it shouldn't happen here.
Yeah. So back to my case, I felt that the feedback I was getting is, Mark, I'm quitting not because of pay, not because of opportunity, not because of whatever. I'm quitting because I don't feel safe. I don't feel emotionally safe. And I'm struggling with that. I'm struggling with that because I feel like it bumps up against one of my core values, which, is extremely important for me, that we learn, that we set our delicate sensibilities and our emotions aside. And I know there's very valid arguments against what I'm saying, but I'm just leaning into this for the discussion's sake. I love people who are emotionally mature enough to be able to set aside their delicate sensibilities, understand and resonate with my motive and intent. I'm not trying to grind on the face of my employees and maximize my bottom line. That's not what I'm here for. I'm not here to feed my ego and show everybody else how I'm the smartest one in the room, and therefore I've got to point out your stupidity to be able to feed my ego. I'm not here for that. I am here to meet the very cruel, demanding market requirements of property management. I am here to challenge our team to get better as fast as they can without burning out or breaking. I'm here to hold up a mirror so that you see through my eyes that are attuned to the market, the cruel market demands, so you see what I see. Because shame on me if I cloak the harsh realities of the market and I filter those down to the point where you can emotionally tolerate it so that this place can be safe. Meanwhile, our competitors are destroying us because they're learning faster than we are. Because our priority is safety, not learning as fast as I can. And so this is an unfair characterization of the exit interview I had, but this is, I can't help but be tempted by this line of thinking. And I know I'm taking kind of an extreme polar illustration or conclusion from this that's not balanced. It's not perfectly reflecting what was going on, but I couldn't help but walk down this path of this thought exercise of what can I give what do I value most? I value most helping myself and my team members understand our natural gifts and talents that were given to us by God, and magnifying those and developing those, and then using those in the service of others. I care about that. That's meaningful work, and it fosters meaningful relationships, and it creates tremendous value. I care deeply about that. So anything, and I feel that's a worthy cause. I feel my intent and motive is pure around that. And so anything that slows that down is something that I take a hard look at and say, is this useful? Is it useful for me to overly filter the feedback that I'm getting from the market so that I can sort of protect the emotional sensibilities of my team members from being bruised, and in the process also give up learning? Now, I can hear somebody disagreeing with me and say, well, Mark, if you were just a better leader and you were a better communicator and you understood how to talk to each of your individual team members that are not robots, you would have more influence with them. I accept that argument. I accept that challenge. And in fact, one of the takeaways from this experience is there's this idea of understanding your team so well that you have like the equivalent of like a baseball card of their preferences, the way they think, the way they're wired, and that a leader, wouldn't it be a powerful tool if we could orient ourselves to those things anytime we had critical communication? But back to my original point, Tony, I want to run an idea meritocracy. The best idea wins. I'm not here to protect anyone from feeling sad or sort of mildly rejected because they are too emotionally attached to their ideas or their way of doing things that don't best serve the market. I'm here to lead people to a better way of thinking, to higher skills, so that we can maximize our contribution to other people, because that's what the market rewards.
Okay, Mark, I gotta challenge you on this, because I don't think it's either or.
Okay.
Right. I want to tell you a story about a race that I was in. And I think it's appropriate since we titled this segment of our show, the Property Management Aid Station. So we're going to talk about that.
Let's do it.
So I want you to know that in every one of my long distance races, so every 100+ mile where I've got pacers that are out there, I've got crew that are out there, they're waiting for them to contribute when they're called upon.
Quick pause. Can we consider 60 miles long distance? Because I feel like this is not a safe place for me because I've never run 100 miles. I'm just
okay.
Joking.
With some parameters. You can call it long distance, but you better not get a buckle. You can get a medal, but buckles are reserved for 100 milers and more.
I have 4 buckles that disprove that.
You're joining races that are not pulling out your full potential.
Sorry, I digress. Please continue.
All right. So I have crew that are waiting for me. I have pacers that are waiting for me to come into the aid station. And I want to show them gratitude when it's finally time for them to participate. So I don't think that you can't provide a safe space, acknowledge people's emotions. I will tell you, I have so much gratitude for everybody on my team when they're called upon. And when they don't perform, believe me, we talk about it. When I show up and I'm expecting a certain pair of shoes to be on the side waiting for me next to the chair, and they got this other pair of shoes that I've already worn, and I shouldn't have those ones out there, like, they're going to get an earful. But every single aid station, when I come into the aid station, I hug my crew, and every time I leave, I hug them. Now, I'm not saying that's appropriate in the business setting, but I show them that they're appreciated. They're waiting to do their piece, and every time there might be a challenge, there might be some misunderstanding. I might just be a jerk when I come into the aid station because you're tired, you've been focused, whatever. But there's always that little bit of love and a little bit of gratitude. So I challenge you that just because you want the best idea to win doesn't mean that you can't also accommodate different people's communication styles and their different emotional communication styles and abilities and needs, because people come to work to be fulfilled. And if you're not giving them fulfillment in the way that they need it on their way to help you fulfill what you need, they're going to be giving you some harsh feedback in an exit interview.
Yeah. No, that lands both uncomfortably and true. Like, and as I'm sitting here listening to you, Tony, I'm like, man, this is Tony. This is Tony. This is what Tony does. Tony shows love to people in a meaningful way, that with hugs, both physical hugs and emotional hugs, psychological hugs. You have that gift. That's great. What if I show my love by being so dedicated to principles that matter and dedicating my life to it, where even though I don't have the instinct and I don't have the skill necessarily to love people the way you do, I'm still loving in my way. I think that's part of what I'm struggling with. I'm loving by committing with valor to principles that matter, that are difficult, that require the best from us. And I need to find perhaps someone like you eventually, when my organization gets large enough and I can afford it, that brings in, some more feel-good love vibes. Because I read this somewhere. Steve Jobs, and who else was the other one? That these guys had like a really low, like there was this indictment, like this personality type style, where they put ideas over people. And then I heard an author like sort of debunk that and say, well, the reason the Myers-Briggs or whatever it is that says that they value ideas over people is because if a person's needs comes between the idea that they've dedicated themselves to accomplishing, they will pick the idea every time. And that lands with me. I will not compromise the idea and the mission of what I know this business can be and what we're going to achieve and the good we're going to do for thousands of people's lives. I won't pause to change that trajectory or even slow down on that trajectory for any one individual person on my team's needs. And I know you're going to say, well, it's not either or, Mark. But I do struggle with this. I struggle with this.
I see what you're saying about staying true to the mission, the vision, and 100% agree with that. We should not be adjusting our roles based on the individual. That's why when we kind of walk through our framework, we always define the position that we need first, and then we go out and look for the A player that's going to fit that role versus saying, well, I have this person, but they're not good with technology, so how do I change that role? I'm not talking about that. But I truly believe that people will rise or fall to your level of expectation. And I want to take it back to running for a minute, and then we'll bring that back to business. But if you really want to know how I get people to come out to, so Scott, who has paced me at the Bigfoot 200, he has been on my crew and for other races, and he is now, I called him last night or the night before and told him, hey, I finally made it off the wait list for Cocodona. Get ready because we're in. And he's like, yeah, whatever you need. I've got the van. He's going to drive down. He's got a 21-foot like luxury van with the shower and the bed and the kitchen and all the stuff already built out in it. Beautiful van. He's going to come down there. I'm like, well, let me pay you for gas money to make, but he is, I don't even have to convince him, but he has already scheduled time off. He's going to take time off where he's not working. He's going to come down and spend 8 or 9 days with me in Arizona, a couple days before the race, day or two after. And he's going to do that because I've shown him the value that he contributes. He knows that he performs at a high level, and he knows that I want him to be a part of the team to accomplish the mission that we've set out. So I'm not changing my mission to say, well, Scott's going to come, so I need to change my pace that I'm going to go. I'm going to adjust how fast I'm going to finish this race. No, he is wanting to participate and be a part of it because of the environment that we've created around achieving this goal. And it's not even his goal, it's my goal, but he's bought in because I've created spaces for each one of the people that are going to come down and crew. And it's the same thing in business. I'm not adjusting the end result that I'm trying to achieve. You're not adjusting those true principles that you're trying to adhere to. You're giving encouragement for the people that are trying to help you get there, as opposed to, I'm going to call you out and it's black and white and we should all be on the same page of this was inappropriate. Yeah, maybe it is, but maybe they were having a bad day just like you have bad days. And maybe they said the wrong thing to the wrong person, and yeah, it's not acceptable, but how can we learn from this? What can we do? And I just think that you are trying to compartmentalize anybody that is out of alignment 100% with your vision and your mission, that you don't want to have a safe space for them. And they need a safe space in order for you to accomplish what you want to accomplish.
Can't disagree with that. I can't disagree. When I challenge my thought on, when I challenge myself on this thought, I think, well, when are you the best, Mark? When do you learn the best? Do you learn the best without the undergirding foundation of, feeling like you're okay and feeling like you've got a future in this relationship? Or do you learn, I think one of the reasons we learn so much, those of us who are married, from our spouses, is because at the end of the day, if you're in a healthy marriage, you're safe with that person. So it's hard to disagree. It's hard to disagree. So I'm going through some hijacked our entire conversation with the opening question.
Yeah.
Hopefully somebody got some benefit out of this.
Yeah. All right, one last tie-in here, and then we'll shift over to what we were going to actually talk about. So I have a dog, Moose, that runs with me. He's a running dog. And he is a great performer. I can tell him out front, right side, left side, turn right, turn left while we're running, and he'll do that. And he made a lot of mistakes leading up to that. But the reason he was able to do that was because of the encouragement, not because every time he made a wrong decision or made a mistake, I slapped him with the end of the leash. That didn't happen, right? So there needs to be some accountability in business, but there also needs to be some encouragement for when people do things right. And I think as business owners, as entrepreneurs, we're so focused on where we're going that we fail to recognize the people that are helping us get there verbally. We may recognize it in our car on the way home. We may say, you know what, I've done a really good job of building a really good team, but that's the focus on me. I've done a good job, as opposed to, look, I just wanted to stop and take a minute to let you know, based on the KPIs, based on your performance, based on the number of doors we brought in, you're doing a really good job. And it's just making those little micro deposits so that when we screw up as business owners, we make that withdrawal, there's still money in the bank, and they don't say, you know what, I'm going to go somewhere else because they're going to treat me better the way I want to be treated. They weren't going to love me the way I want to be loved.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that I've beaten you down,
that's fine. It's an idea meritocracy here.
Yeah, there we go. All right, let's turn the corner here. Do you want to lighten the mood a little bit?
Yeah, of course.
All right, Mark. Well, I really appreciate the open and honest conversation that we had about what's going on at your business. I feel that's one of your strong suits, is working on things and then trying to learn, trying to improve. And every time you come up against something, you don't hide it. You say, hey, here's what's happening. Here's what I've learned from it. And here's how we're going to do better in the future. And so I appreciate that part of our conversation today.
Good. Thank you. Happy to be part of that.
Yeah. All right. So let's do a few takeaways from that. So you've learned what from this whole thing?
Well, I've learned that you're a much better people person than I am, and I'm okay with that. I've learned that I want to be more open-minded, that it's not either or. It's, I'm not going to give on the ideas. I'm not going to give on the vision. I'm not giving on the values. Underperformance is not okay, but as much as it is my job to be pushing that bar higher every day, I have to meet that with a certain level of energy and support and emotional deposits, like you talk about. and there's room for improvement there. And as much as I don't know, I was about to go down the rabbit hole again, but yeah, I think there's room for improvement there.
All right, great. Well, let's bring it to a close here, Mark. It's always so much fun jumping on here with you, and I know eventually we're gonna have to do one of these from the trail. I think we should.
Oh, that'd be
set up a
so
time.
cool.
You know, I got the 360 camera. We can
Heck
throw in
yeah,
a couple of Bluetooth headsets to it, and just go out and knock it out on the trail. And we can do something less than 100 miles, so you feel, safe and justified in the distance.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Now you're throwing barbs. Now I feel like we got a real relationship. Hey, maybe we can do a little content in the Grand Canyon. I don't know. You and I will be leading different groups, but maybe we can do a little chat the night before or the night after or something.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's going to be fantastic. Let's count on it.
Cool.
All right, man. Let's get us out of here.
All right, get back on the trail. You're doing great. We love you.
Here's your hug.
Here's your hug.
Out. All right.
Here's your hug.
And we'll see you next time.
We'll see you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Property Management Success Podcast. We'll be back with another value-packed episode to help you level up your property management game. If you've got something valuable out of today's episode, please share it with a friend or colleague, and don't forget to subscribe and leave a review so you never miss out on future insights and strategies and tactics. Until next time, here's to your success.